Hello, everybody, and welcome to Arsenal X, Boss Rush's Xbox podcast. I am your host today, Jesse Douglas, and I am here once again with Stoy. How's it going, Stoy?
Hey, man, it's going all right. About you?
Pretty good. I felt a little bad this week, or well, I should say, well, yeah, it was this week. Monday, so like just a little behind the scenes, like a lot of times Monday is when I'll edit the show. Once I get done with work in the morning, like a Tuesday morning or whatever, I'll try to finish anything that I get a chance to, because a lot of times Sundays if I doing whatever, sometimes with friends when I get the chance online, or a lot of times, I'll be honest, after we do the show, I'll watch something and then just fall asleep,
Well, you got a weird schedule, man. You were like third shift most of the time, right?
Yeah. I go into work a lot of the times anywhere from 5 to 9 o'clock at night. And then get done, from anywhere from 1 to 7 or 6, in the morning.
Sometimes. Oh, okay, so it kind of changes.
All yeah, right. It's I'm very fortunate. My like there's a window of when people come into my work and people start coming in. I just got to be out before that. And then as far as when people are there, I can come like at the last couple of hours when there's usually just some teachers and stuff there or whatever, or some people in the offices.
Yeah, right.
So I've kind of got this nice little window of time that I can just kind of go whenever I either feel like or whenever I can, go start my night. And so, yeah, I'm really fortunate in that department that, I can, kind of have that leeway of, especially when you have kids, it's a heaven sent. It's so nice. But yeah, so like I went into work Monday, and then like about halfway through my night, I started feeling like nauseous and all this stuff because I had like a really bad migraine.
Okay.
And so yeah, I ended up, because I was trying to do the breaking the podcast up into segments for YouTube, but I just like came home and I literally went right to bed because.
And that's the kind of nice thing, if you follow Boss Rush Network on YouTube, you could actually access like a lot of really cool clips of our episodes. Mm-hmm. So especially if there's like really big talking points in our episodes where, we'll segue into talking about a topic for like 10 minutes or something like that. Like you can access that content for a short blip, especially if you want to go back and listen to it after you listen to a whole episode. So
yeah,
and then you get to see Jesse's pretty face. FYI, Jesse is, for all you audio listeners, Jesse's the face of the podcast. I just have the voice for it. I guess I gotta be something. I don't know what you want me to be.
I've got a radio face.
There you go.
I've got a face for radio.
You got the radio face, and I got the, I don't know, whatever. So.
But yeah, because what happened is, I don't know about by you, but like here, Monday it was, I think, like 85 or 83 degrees, and it was like 91% humidity or 93% humidity. And
it was pretty hot here, man. Did you you live, like I said, you live like an hour and a half north of me. Did you ever have any did a storm whip through your area like on Tuesday?
Nothing.
No. Like I didn't have power for 2 days. Like, ooh, I was playing a game and all of a sudden power shut off. And first thing I'm worried about is, oh my God, I hope my save file didn't get corrupted. And of course, naturally, like the power didn't come back on that whole night. Yeah. Didn't come on till like late the next day. Like a tree fell down over a transformer on a electrical pole. So,
Yeah.
I was fortunate they got it fixed so quick, because I know a lot of people like out in the sticks in the suburbs that, haven't gotten it fixed till probably this weekend. I wonder.
Yeah. So. Yeah, it was weird because I was like watching all this stuff unfold, and like, and then a little side tangent. It was just kind of a laughing matter, but someone had had posted and our one of our local like neighborhood watch kind of like Facebook pages that I follow just for humor. Just because some of the stuff people ask and those things are just like, come on, man, just Google it. Like, why are you asking? Like, but anyways, someone had posted a radar map of like all the storms and stuff, and they just said, oh, be vigilant, it's not over yet. And someone posted, oh, stop with your fear mongering, blah blah blah. They thought it was a COVID case map. And it was
my God. People are so Jesus, people are so quick to just, man.
I know, it's entertaining, and I mean, that's all you could do, right?
You people got to chill out. You people got to chill out. Chill out and go play some games.
All you can do is laugh sometimes because it's just, but anyways, so I was like watching all that stuff unfold, and like in Michigan, where the Free Beer and Hot Wings show, the radio show I listen to all the time, where they're based in Grand Rapids, Michigan, they had like some really bad storms and stuff there too, and it's like we just sat here like, I think we had maybe a little rain or something, but there really nothing happened here, which is
that's good.
Normally we do get like tornadoes here. We'll get a season where we've got a couple tornadoes that will just rip everything apart. They're only like a level 1 or whatever, but it's crazy. A tornado is a tornado. If it touches down, it's going to do damage. Like, yeah, that's why like it always amazes me when I see all the damage that these level 1s do, and I think this is only a level 1. Like it literally took 50% of the trees in our city and ripped them right out of the ground or broke them, and this is only a level 1. Like, it's crazy. But yeah, so the humidity, like I usually tend to get really bad migraines when it's really bad like that. So I was like, it's okay if I miss it this week, I guess, because at least the shows are edited, everything. People can still listen. It's just don't have that breakdown. But yeah, I do want to try to do that, because especially, like you've got your sections now where you talk about Game Pass and stuff occasionally, so I want that to be broken out, so if people want to be able to just get that information, audio form, then that gives a good chance for people to just kind of go and listen to that section, or if they want to go back and like, oh, I forget what games did he say was coming out.
It's totally worth listening to an entire episode.
Yeah.
But we also understand, we also respect your time, because you got games to play.
Yeah.
Especially if you keep playing old games, especially if you keep going back to play old games.
Yes.
Over and over and over and over again, like I'm going to talk about later in this episode. And so it just be what it be.
So yeah. All right. So why don't we get into what we've been playing? Stoy, what have you been playing?
Oh God, we're going into this right away.
I
can't seem to ever stop playing Mass Effect. So I think I talked about this before, that I'm playing the Legendary Edition because I just finally beat Mass Effect 3. And have you played this? Have you played Mass Effect, any of them at all? Or
I have not. I was gonna try to get into them, and I just for whatever reason, I think I've gotten to a point of where it's just really difficult for me, because there's so many other things too that I've missed out on, and I've kind of a lot of it, I'll be honest, I've just kind of given up and just accepted the fact. But maybe someday I will try to go back to it, or go to it. I did play part of, I want to say 2 or 3.
Yeah, by many accounts that's the best one, but I like 3 the most, and I think it's playing this series over again. I think like 3 compared to the other 2, 3 is like if Michael Bay took over.
Yeah,
like we're talking like it's all out war. right now.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's like the missions are so bombastic. There's just destruction, chaos just everywhere.
Yeah.
Because it's like in that game, the Reapers are here and they're taking over, and Shepard basically is walking around Mass Effect 3 like, I told you guys, none of you believed me. None of you thought that it was real. You thought I was crazy. And now who's laughing?
Yeah.
Which is what I would be doing, but I didn't have that option in every conversation wheel. When people are like, the Reapers are here, and there was never an option to select, I told you.
Yeah.
I told you. Didn't I say this? 2 games. Yeah. Anyway, but you got to do what you got to do. So, and I'm going to delve into spoiler territory, but I think at this point, if you've heard of the series, you know about the controversial ending to 3. Yeah. And I never thought it was that controversial. I beat the game years ago when it first came out, even before the quote extended cut. And I thought I was satisfied because the trilogy ends Shepard's story. It ends it. There was the developers weren't like coy about it. They weren't like, well, whatever. Like, they were pretty upfront about it. Like chaos is here. This world is going to end, and most likely Shepard will end as well, depending on your choices. And I thought it was written. I thought the ending was written very well and weaved in to, now you have a choice. And I mean, if people are going to disagree with me, that's one thing. That's fine. I don't care. But I think I really studied it this time around. Like, I really paid attention and really focused to the choices that I was given, because I beat the game 3 times before this. Mm-hmm. And every time I chose the same ending, I chose the synthesis ending. Oh, because the theme of the theme of the universe around Mass Effect is the dichotomy and the war between man and machine, so to speak.
Yeah.
Man creates machine, and man creates machine to be sentient. Their sentience all of a sudden gets them in trouble. Now man decides, well, we can't have you sentient anymore. We have to wage war. And then machines wage war to rebel. And then you got this whole other dichotomy of like other races trying to kill each other and stuff. And that's when the Reapers come in to say, all right, you're done. Go in a corner. Wait another 50,000 years before, whatever. Mm-hmm. That's the short end of the story. So anyway, you finally get the choice where, like, you get to confront the Reapers as a whole. You confront the person that created the Reapers. And this kind of sentient computer tells you, okay, you got 3 choices. You can synthesize, next step of evolution, but where you basically mankind or every organic species blends with machine. And mm-hmm. It's like this weird blend of, synthesis. You could control the Reapers to basically you assume control of them and you do whatever you want with them, or you destroy them, destroy the Reapers, and they are no longer a threat to the galaxy anymore. But when you destroy them, you destroy a lot of machines and you destroy a lot of kind of whatever. So, but everything can be rebuilt. I chose destroy this time around, which is technically the bad ending. Like, it's kind of like, it's the renegade path. And but to me, like, when I really started to think about it, I was like, that makes the most sense to me. Mm-hmm. Like, synthesis, I thought, was the best of both worlds ending, where it was like you get to keep the machines, but also you get the next step of evolution. That's why I chose it 2 or 3 times in the past. But control didn't seem right to me, because I thought, like, the whole battle before destroying the Reapers was paramount in everybody's mind. But ultimately, Shepard said, he did say, like, the elusive man was right, because the elusive man in the series wanted to control the Reapers. And I know I may be talking over people's heads in terms of, like, especially if you haven't played the game before, but I really think it's worth going through, because the reason why I like 3 so much is that you have bled with these characters going through all the series of games. You know them. You basically, forge bonds and friendships with them. I mean, on a superficial level in terms of, like, gameplay, but, like, one of the scenes that really kind of always, like, hit me hard is Garrus. I mean, Garrus, he's the Turian. He's my guy. Yeah. And one of the last conversations I have with him, Shepard said, hey, man, there is no Shepard without Vicarian. And his name is Garrus Vicarian. And I was like, hell yeah, man. Like, oh, God, got a little teary-eyed. I was like, oh, man.
Well, honestly, I mean, you think about it, like people like create like bonds just watching a movie, and that's only like 2 hours. Like that you can feel feels or whatever in those 2 hours, but like like what each game is like what 30 plus hours or
Yeah, pretty
more.
much. I mean, it depends on
So
how much you want to go into it. Like if you want to
yeah,
do everything, which is what I did, and actually there's incentive to do everything in 3 because the more you do, the more um, allies you recover,
okay,
the more the supplies and equipment and all these other like kind of things to help the war effort, so to speak.
yeah,
The more prepared you are by the end battle, the better everybody will be. More people will survive. More, the humanity and civilization will be better off in the end. So, I mean,
yeah,
there's incentive to do all this extra stuff, but I
yeah,
mean, ultimately, like I said, I've played through these games multiple times in a row, and the guys make fun of me because I keep going back to it. Like
yeah.
almost like every year, I, at the very least, play one of these games. And I actually all of a sudden jumped right into Mass Effect Andromeda over the weekend, which, that got panned because of the initial game, release being kind of buggy, but they've since fixed the bugs. And, when you look past all of that, it's actually a really good game and it sets up a really good universe. But I think you still got a lot of these fans that still want it to be in the original trilogy universe.
Yeah.
They weren't ready to move on yet.
Yeah.
Mass Effect
Yeah.
3, you hit on such a high note, and then all of a sudden they're like, we want to keep going on this high note, even though a lot of people hated the endings. But I thought the endings were great. I thought that's what we were preparing for the whole time.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I think people wanted a good ending. That's it.
Yeah.
They wanted
Yeah.
Shepard to survive. They wanted to go back with their homies and be like, yeah, we did it. We beat the Reapers. Everybody's happy.
But at the same time, though, like, I mean, maybe it's easier for me just because I haven't spent all the time in the game, but I'm going by like how you're explaining it. Like, here you are playing a game where the whole entire point of the game is to have these options. It would only make sense that your options have consequences. And if they don't give me those options at the end, I don't feel like there was consequence then. Right?
Yeah, because I mean, ultimately, you have to make choices that could negatively affect who's in the war effort with you. So, like, say for example, curing the genophage.
Yeah.
There was this sterility disease that infected the Krogan. So basically they couldn't supply in mass. And that was basically forced upon the Krogan population by the Turian civilization, the Turian aliens, and the Solarians.
Mm-hmm.
If you decide to deploy the cure, the Solarians are no longer they're no longer helping you.
Yeah.
But you could elect to not issue the cure, and the Solarians come to help you. But then again, you have much less Krogan support.
Yeah.
Because
and in the end, you have to decide what which group do you think is going to be more loyal, or
and I'm telling I'm telling you 10 times out of 10, if I'm going into a battle, I want an army of Krogans behind me. I don't need no skinny ass Solarians behind me like, let's go. It's like, what the fuck are you guys gonna do?
Yeah,
you guys like, these guys, the Solarians look so skinny, like they look like they float away if you just blow on them wrong. But no, I mean, they're very well known for their tactics, their special forces. They have the special tactics group where they're like guerrilla warfare style combat. But still, I 10 times out of 10, I'm picking a Krogan to go with.
Yeah, like that's the thing is, like, honestly, I like when there's games like this that I don't know a whole lot about, but I've obviously I've kind of like I've had some interest in it because I am through and through like sci-fi for me is my favorite, like, period. Like, I mean, there's a reason I love Halo. There's a reason that Halo has, even though like the most recent Gears of War has really like pulled me in. Like, I am all in now because this is the first story for me that I really am loving the characters and like love what they've done with it.
Yeah.
It's just different, like, right? Like how many years it's always the big bulky guys with the big machine guns and the big tough guys are the focus, and it's like I've seen this so much. Like I want, like I want that change, and like having it focus, like on a female, and like, it having this really cool, not on top of it, this really cool kind of twist, dealing with her mother and stuff like that. It's just been an amazing, and so, but like, yeah, it's so like,
well,
Halo,
when Gears of War came out, that was the because it's when you look at game release windows, Gears of War came out at the height of the kind of like bro action game genre, where it was like, let's just go in there, let's fuck some shit up, and let's go home after that, or let's keep going. We just load the weapon up again and let's keep going. Whereas nowadays, I think people are craving more of those personal stories. That's why a game like Gears 5 resonated with so many people. Like Kat, her character resonates with more people, just even being a centerpiece in one game than Marcus Phoenix did in maybe all three of those games combined. You really started to kind of see Marcus Phoenix who he was in 4, I really think. Yeah. When he was like this grizzled old man that's just like, I'm here to protect my son kind of thing. So, and
4
like
was really good too. Yeah.
In Mass Effect 3, you see the culmination of like where the relationships you forged has gotten you. And a lot of people forget that because it's like people think, well, every decision you made throughout the games doesn't affect the ending. And I'm like, well, no, it's not. But it affects every other decision you make leading up to it. And I think that's the key point. Like the relationships you forge with the Quarians and the Geth determine, who's going to show up in the final battle. Are they both going to show up in the final battle, or are you just going to be literally destroying the entire Geth army?
Yeah.
Are the Quarians going to be able to live on their home world, or are they still going to be ostracized? So it's those things that, you play the game going through, they do mean something, and they mean something to a single end to a story. It doesn't mean the end game will be changed depending on who you chose to pick, Solarians versus the Asari or whatever, so.
Yeah. And that's why that like exactly what you said, where, we're seeing more and more and more people show interest in gaming, and like it's honestly, it's at a all-time high, and it just feels like it's just constantly growing, like the amount of people who start getting into games. And I think that's gonna be very good for when the new Fable comes out, because that, like, I think now more than ever we need a new Fable, because there's absolutely so many people who are starving for that, or don't even know what they're missing. They haven't experienced yet.
Yeah, I know, and that's the thing. Like Fable is kind of old and dated. When Chris and I were talking about Fable 2 weeks ago, I was looking back at some of the gameplay footage, and I'm like, man, I mean, I don't think, like, if people jumped into Fable right now, I don't think people would probably get past the graphics, even though I think they hold up.
Yeah.
Compared to what we're seeing now, I don't think people would get into it as much. But, if Playground Games does the series justice, I know they will. Xbox needs that killer RPG. And it's definitely going to be in Fable. And it's definitely going to be something that people are going to want to play through multiple times, because it's kind of like the same in Mass Effect. You play how you want to play. You want to be good. You want to be evil. Do you want to help people? Do you want to hurt people? Like that's awesome. And that we have those kind of choices in games these days.
And I just, and like, obviously, with the humor and stuff, like it's to me, like I relate it to like the Guardians of the Galaxy kind of movie or something like that, where you've got really serious things going on, but all along the way there's a lot of wit and humor, and like that where you still are very interested in the story, but but you're also getting to laugh and 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 just have fun with it. So like
and that's hard with video game writing, is that it's all in the delivery. And a lot of times, video game cutscenes or video game character interactions in engine, it can be hard to write comedy. And I've seen that where games have tried but failed utterly. And I think a lot of times it boils down to having like good actors, act the parts and really nail it down, because it's kind of hard to like act a funny scene when you're in a sound booth, staring at a microphone.
And honestly, like like for me anyways, I mean, everyone's got a different sense of humor, but for me, like Portal 2 is like, just when it comes to humor, like I just like it's so, I love that game so much, and like that I want to get so they made like a picture back in the day of Cave Johnson, and it had a little sensor on it, and when you walked past it, it would say some of his quotes. Like, I love that character so much that I want to buy that picture and hang it above our fireplace. Like,
but that's the thing. J.K. Simmons nailed it. If anybody else did it, I don't think they would have done that character justice. It's all in who you pick to act those parts. And like I said, I don't think there could have been anybody else who would have done that part justice.
It's just because for him it was all about that delivery, because what he was saying sometimes wasn't always the funny part. It was how he was saying it. You know, like how he was delivering that part is why it was funny. And like, oh man, I could honestly just listen to that, like all of his clips, like I'm listening to an album, because that game, he was just so freaking hilarious.
Oh yeah, for sure. But so besides, like I said, I beat Mass Effect 3, finished that chapter. I'll probably end up playing the games again next year. It's kind of a yearly thing for me. I go back into it every
now you got
so
a
often.
nicer looking version of them, so
they'll
exactly last longer.
And honestly, like, it's one of those things, like the original bugs are still there, but everything else looks so just better. They fixed. I would say they spent more time fixing the first Mass Effect, compared than 2 or 3. And I didn't expect them to fix all the bugs. That would have been a monumental task of just like going back through old code and fixing it. But I'm glad at the very least we got a new generation that is able to play these games. Not only obviously older generation people like me playing it again, but an opportunity for newer, younger people to be like, oh, I heard about this series. I wonder what it's about. So, and EA has posted their numbers, like the sales of that game has defied expectations. And this goes to show that people, to EA, people still crave single player games. I mean, how many units of Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order? How many? I don't know the numbers, but I know that was hugely successful. And here they are making a Battlefield game just multiplayer only.
Can we get them on EA Play now, please?
Yeah, right. No kidding.
For people like me that like I'd play it. I'd try it now.
I know. I think you can. I think you can play the older games,
the originals. Yeah,
but you can't play the Legendary Edition.
And I was going to. I had downloaded all three of the original game. Those the trilogy. A while back, and when they had announced, but I'm like, man, these are, I kind of want to just wait until they add the remastered versions of them to EA Play instead, and that's kind of partially why I never even bothered, is I'm like, well, I'd like to experience it in the updated versions, just because hopefully it will be enough that way to look wise, everything for me to want to stick with it. And because I'm super interested in the story, and that's, like I was gonna say, like you definitely have a floor here to talk about that kind of stuff that you love, because I enjoy hearing people talk about stuff that they're passionate about or whatever. So
Yeah, that's me
like
for sure.
It's fun, like I like learning about things, like that's the whole reason I listen to podcasts is I like to I have like science podcasts that I listen to. I have like all these different just a mix of different things because I just like learning and hearing people talk about things that I'm not necessarily interested in, but I want to be interested in. So yeah, but is that pretty much it, or is there anything else that you've kind of been?
Yeah, pretty much. Like I said, I jumped right into Andromeda right away, and I talked about that before. But yeah, like I said, I lost power for like 2-3 days.
Yeah.
And or 2 days mostly. So I lost a little bit of gaming time, but yeah. Otherwise, that was the bulk of what I was playing. I logged in some more time with the Ascent. Still love that game.
Okay. Yeah.
I think the more I play it, the more I enjoy it. So
yeah. I'm just waiting a little bit. I don't know if there was any plans or they've talked about any kind of updates or patches for the console versions. Because I know some of the issues. So
I mean, as far as I know, the game's running as smoothly. I haven't seen any major updates lately. The game is running as smoothly as it did during launch, which isn't. But like I said, it's one of those things. The majority of the time, I'm having a great time with it.
Yeah.
There are a few little bugs, not necessarily game breaking. But, whatever. I'm still having a good time with it.
Yeah, because I heard you guys on your show talking about it, and I forget who it was that said that his character was broken. He couldn't play any further.
Yeah. Josh.
Josh, yeah, it was.
Yeah. Because when he would jump from like multiplayer to like single player, then back to multiplayer, like that character couldn't transfer. Like, oh, you're unable to play as this character. It's like, that kind of sucks.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah.
But all right, yeah. I actually played a bunch of things this week.
Wow. So I feel stupid. Like I barely played anything this week.
Well, you like you said though, you've also got some reasons why you didn't really.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, a lot of the times there are times where all I literally play or like get to play all week is like Fortnite or something that's easy. I can jump into and out of if I have a couple extra minutes. But so I didn't completely finish it yet, but I did beat the final boss and finish the kind of the main story of Death's Door.
Okay.
Yesterday, and man, that, like I said, it's right now, it's my game of the year. Like I absolutely love everything that game has done, and like now I'm just going back because luckily, which makes it part of the reason why I think this game is so great. After you beat the final boss, you still can go back and get any of the collectibles or whatever that you missed. It's just not over. It's not just done. There is a final ending, but you have to collect, I think, everything and finish everything in order to get the actual true final ending. Because
now
I know what it is.
How does that work? Like I was gonna say, like when you're trying to collect everything, is it going to take a long time to do? Because sometimes I hate when they lock good endings or the true endings behind, like, okay, you still got to grind for another 20 hours to get the really true ending.
No, not really. It's because it's not really about grinding.
Well, that's good.
It's not about grinding. It's more about just going back to areas that you couldn't get into possibly prior without the equipment that you unlock as you play the game.
Okay.
And then some of them are just a matter of finding the so it's very similar to Zelda, where you've got these different, there's two different styles of them. I think it's red and green, of these like statue head like creature looking things that you go up to, and then they open their mouth, and then there's a
statue head looking creatures. I have no
idea. It's I don't know what kind of creature they are, but it's just like some kind of weird creature, but it's a statue of just its head sitting on the ground, and then you walk up to it and its mouth opens up and there's a piece of this thing in it, and you collect 4 of those pieces, and then you can get either a full extra chunk of health or a full extra chunk of your stamina. Or, well, technically, I don't think it would be stamina. It's more like almost like magic, I guess, because it's like you've got a bar that depletes every time you use your either your bombs, your arrows, or your what is it? Bombs, arrows, and what else? I forget. But yeah, like there's like things you use and then it depletes that, and then you can replenish them just by hitting anything. So so it's not really too difficult, but you can upgrade those. And
I'm
so
actually finally watching gameplay of this.
Yeah.
I've heard you talk about this for the last like 3 weeks, and I'm finally watching gameplay of it, and I'm already getting like super hyper light drifter vibes from this. I don't know if you played that.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
I finished that game. Yeah, I liked that game a lot.
How frustrating was it for you?
This game?
Hyper light drifter. Pat on our podcast hates it. Like, I've never heard him passionately hate something in my life. With the exception of when he hates it so much. Like, I think that same developer has another game coming out, and he's like already writing that off. He's like, that's that game. I'm not touching it because he's afraid it's going to be too much like Hyper Light Drifter.
I honestly, it had its parts that could get frustrating, and and the same with Death's Door. Like, it definitely is one of those games where you've got to learn patterns. You've got to know when you can when you can strike and when you have to dodge and when you have to, there's definitely a lot of mechanics going on when you're battling bosses and stuff, for sure. It's definitely, it's not as hard as like a Souls game, but it definitely has a hint of that kind of,
You have to fight a castle.
Yes, it's hilarious.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
doesn't look hilarious.
Yeah, it's so like.
I imagine afterwards, but
yeah, the whole idea of it is it's like like you've got these like souls type things that you've got to you're beating these things, and then so you can capture its soul and send it to send it on to heaven or hell or wherever it's going. But but it's and
game is kind of cool, actually. I'd be curious. You said it's on Game Pass, right?
Yeah. Or no, it's not on Game Pass, but it's only $20, and it's honestly, I'll be honest with you right now, the best $20 I've ever spent. Like, it is so worth $20. So like, if you just mainline it and just want to beat, just get the story and everything done, or the main game done, I think it's like supposed to only take like 6 hours.
Oh, okay.
But I've spent way more than that on it, so I don't know about that for sure. But honestly, once you start playing it, if you love it, you're gonna know pretty quickly. And you're like, for me, I didn't want it to end. Like, I wish this game was never ending and just more and more stuff to do. But
you almost wish it was longer too, I think. Yeah.
But I think the whole situation of the story and what's happening in it, they could make this a continuous game. Like, you're essentially a crow that's moving souls along, and so like that storyline could be any other character and any other more souls to like it could be a never-ending thing of just new games with different characters.
Or maybe just DLC or something like that.
Yeah,
drops.
Yeah, so
hopefully it gets a sequel. Like, it looks
yeah, and this is one of those games where it was I think like 5 or 10 people working on it for years to finish it. And we
were talking about that on our episode just earlier today.
Yeah.
EXP cast, where it's like, it's amazing how you can make a full-fledged like awesome game.
Yeah.
with just a small team. Like obviously the team that made Ascent, group of like 11, 12 guys, you know, and it's a game Microsoft completely backs 100%. Death's Door made by 5 people, and just that's all. Like a lot of people have been seeing this on my YouTube channel. Yeah, it's just like videos of just like people just like singing this game's praises, and it looks really cool. Like I mean, you know, something right up my alley. So
yeah, it's definitely like if you like a Zelda game, it's got all those kinds of feels of a Zelda game. It's got the humor and the wit of the characters with the goofiness and the weird, and the very dramatic overreactions with things and stuff like that. It's so much Zelda that like it just was so perfect. It like came out at the perfect time that I was like, I needed this right now.
Oh my god, this grandma boss battle is something straight out of Link's Awakening.
Yeah, it's
straight out of it.
Yeah, it's definitely got a lot of Zelda influence to it.
You know, and I don't mind that. Like, I mean, if you're gonna blatantly copy a game, that's fine. But you know, I think it's cool that a game like Legend of Zelda has such like a kind of like a ripple effect over like games. Just we're talking like years and years down the line.
Yeah,
we're just like, you know, I want to make a game just like this. I want to make a game just like that, and I think that's cool.
Yeah,
but that's me.
Yeah, I mean, you know, like, it's
the Lord of Doors. Yeah, this game is kind of funny.
Yeah, I think you'd love it. Like $20 only, and like honestly, I suggest to anyone if you like Zelda, but like with just a little bit of a step up of like difficulty from your standard Zelda game, because it's not just like, you know, you need to do so many 3 attacks and then the boss is done or whatever kind of, you know, like some of that stuff that's kind of been in the past for Zelda stuff. It's a little bit more of work to get to that finish, but it's definitely worth checking out. And like I said, $20, like honestly, it's the best bargain.
That's cool.
I've made all year, but
$20 for pretty much like an 8 to 10 hour game. That's not bad.
Yeah,
money well spent.
I think people have said like if you try to finish everything, it can take you like 10 hours. So,
cool.
But yeah, I don't know what the final ending is. I'm trying to go back and finish stuff now, because there literally was some things that you couldn't find until you beat the final boss. But so I think I know what the actual final ending is, just because there's a character you run into and he wants you to try to kill him.
Okay.
And you start attacking him, and he's like, you're too weak to kill me. I guess I'll just, when you get stronger, come back, and hopefully you'll be because he's immortal and he doesn't want to be, which you know, like there's some reality to that. Like, you know, people talk about wanting to live forever, but I don't think I'd ever want to live forever. No, thank you.
Nah, that's one thing everyone always says. Oh, what would you want to be, a vampire? Like, nah. It's just, it's a long life, man. You just, I'd be afraid I'd be like a bitter old man like Dracula in the Castlevania anime series. Just like, it's too tired of this shit.
Enough of a regular length of life will make you that. So, you know, like, it's but yeah, so I'm gonna try to finish that, but I did beat the final boss, and that definitely took me, I don't know, like probably like 20 tries or something. Because cool. It was an epic boss battle. It was like going through 2 full levels of the game, and then after the 2 full levels, then you have the final boss battle. Right. So yeah, it's and as far as what, like with Pat, with, you know, the hyper light drifter or whatever, like I wonder if he's ever
it doesn't look like ridiculously hard. Like, I could see where you know, there is a bit of a challenge, but you know, if you recognize patterns, you recognize attack strength, speed, and even reach of your enemies. Like, you know, I mean, this is something that, it's probably a little bit frustrating, but you can get through it.
Yeah. It would
stop being a bitch.
Yeah, and there, like there's some areas where you're having to go through it quickly because there's things flying that you've got to learn the pattern of and dodge through them, and all that. And dude, you see that crow holding a big long sword, and it's just the cutest damn thing. It's just such, like, everything about that game is just so well done.
Right.
So yeah. But there's that, and then I haven't played a whole lot of it, but I did play some of the campaign of Back 4 Blood.
Oh, you got access to the beta?
Yeah. It's in Game Pass.
Oh yeah.
So it's in Game Pass. So I played some of that, and I'm really enjoying it so far. I don't really
super Left 4 Dead vibes. I've watched gameplay video of it.
Oh yeah.
But So I mean, obviously it's made by the original creators of Left 4 Dead, so they're finally getting a chance to. But it looks like they're even, like, one of the things about the original Left 4 Dead is obviously you got, like, the same weapons. Like, there's not a lot of variety of weapons, but it looks like there's a ton of variety here.
Oh yeah, there's an area where you can go, and so, like, you have a hub world where you're in a camp, and there's people in the camp that you talk to for whatever specific things, and then outside of the indoor camp, there's a shooting range, and then there's like 3 or 4 tables they had to have all the weapons laid out, and then they're all on the wall and everything. And then you can pick through each specific gun. Then also has, like, this attachment for this part, this attachment for this other part, and, like, so it's clip, barrel, stock, and there's like 5 or 6 different versions of each of those pieces, some more actually. And then they've probably got, like, I don't know, like, at least, I don't know, it's an insane amount of guns. But when you go in there, you can see them all laid out. But because they've got, like, I think 10 pistols alone, and then there's like 3 or 4 different kinds of shotguns, and a couple submachine guns, and like everything. But it's literally as many weapons as you'd see in a Call of Duty game.
Very cool.
So I'm enjoying that a lot. And then I finally, I was like, you know what, I've really been excited for this game since we heard about it a long time ago, and then it came out to PC, and I was like, dang it, I wish it would come to console. But we finally got Splitgate, and I played it, and I just absolutely just instantly fell in love with it. It just feels like Halo, like nothing else does. And then having those portals on top of it is just sweeten the deal for me. Like, I've been absolutely just loving that game. It just feels so good shooting. It feels just like Halo does, like, as far as how well they got the shooting down. And it's the same thing. You can zoom in on some guns, but like, you're wanting to just, aim your crosshair over people's heads and try to get those headshots as quick as possible, and zoom in when you need to. And they've got, just like Halo, they've got rocket launchers. They've got these guns that shoot these big, like, massive plasma, like, beam that just instantly kills whoever, melts whoever it touches. And then you've got, like, all these kind of fun submachine guns, and everything. It basically is a Halo clone, but with the portal gun on your,
pretty much, like Halo and Portal mixed, like someone decided to blend the two together.
which it works really well, and it's super fun when you shoot a portal somewhere and then some guy is running at you and he's going to shoot you, and you quick shoot a portal in the wall, and then he doesn't know where you were popping out. Turns out you were popping out right behind him, and then you get him, and it's just
wild.
like, yeah, it's.
Does this have a single player mode at all, or is it just multiplayer only?
I believe it's multiplayer only.
Okay.
Because yeah, I don't foresee anything, campaign wise. I mean, who knows, they might have something, down the line, like, now look at, well, I mean, it's not completely a campaign, but you have that new game coming out that's in the PUBG world,
Right.
but I don't think they plan on having a campaign right now, but it's just one of those games that definitely, like, it was a good move to put on PC first, because like that's where those kind of games strive, is on PC, those multiplayer games like that. So but yeah, I'm glad it came to console, and yeah, definitely if you're a first person shooter, or you like like Halo multiplayer, it's definitely worth giving it a shot. I guarantee you'll enjoy it. There's it's missing a lot of polish, but I mean, it's not awful. It's just that you can tell that it's not a very, very big, budget game. It doesn't have a Halo, money behind it or whatever, but yeah, it works perfectly in what it does. So yeah, there's that, and then the last thing, I've kind of just been hopping around on a couple little games here and there, but I played a little Fortnite and stuff, just finishing that out with some friends. That's one of the games I play with friends. But yeah, that's pretty much it. So, but yeah, there's a bunch of things.
Cool.
Oh, actually, the what? Crap, there was something else. Whatever. We'll move on from it. I forgot now. There's literally a bunch of games I played that I should have wrote down, because I can't.
That's all right.
But yeah, so all right. Yeah, the only other thing I wanted to say before we talk about this, the ID at Xbox showcase stuff that we had, is obviously, if you're listening, so episode 150, and it's I haven't been hosting for a super long time, but like, I'll be honest, as it goes on, I think I'm enjoying it more, and feeling not feeling quite as worried about things and stuff. But I think like, as long as we keep like a somewhat normal cast too, it's much easier, right? Like, when it's not always someone different, and
consistency is key, and that's what kind of keeps people coming back, is like, if the same schedule, like, they know when to expect the episodes coming out, they know who to expect the majority of the time on the episodes. There's probably screaming Jesse fans out there that are just like clamoring to hear your voice, and if all of a sudden they show up to listen to an episode where Jesse's not on, and it's some dude named Stoy and some dude named Chris, what is this about? Like, so, but I mean, understandably, obviously we all have lives, so it's, sometimes we can make things, sometimes we can't, but consistency is key. And that's why, like, I'm honored you guys thought of me to bring me on, because I mean, I love Xbox. Obviously, I love the Xbox series of games, and I love the future of where it's going. And I'm just kind of glad to be part of a podcast where we can just continually celebrate it and rub it in other people's faces.
Yeah, and and like, it's the one thing I just was kind of talk about is, I just like, for me personally, I just I've been on POW Block, and I've did that, was doing that with Corey and Ed for a while, and I loved doing that, because
it sounds like there's like a wait list for POW Block. Everybody wants to go and talk about Nintendo.
Yeah, I mean, like there's there's a lot of people who really enjoy Nintendo, and I do
They're
enjoy.
A cult. They're a cult.
Yeah,
we had Logan on our podcast earlier today. He's part of the Boss Rush Network too.
Yeah.
And he says, yeah, Nintendo fans are a cult. And I'm like, oh, absolutely. They will, it's like Nintendo comes out, hey, we have an OLED screen on our Switch, and everyone's like, oh, praise Nintendo. But it's like OLED screens are like the PlayStation Vita has an OLED screen. Yeah. That system's 10 years old. Way to go, Nintendo.
Yeah, I'm gonna be completely honest with you. That was like probably one of the most disappointing announcements, and for me, because I really wanted something that was a little bit more powerful, just so because I and
go
I
to
don't want to
bossrush.net. Go to bossrush.net.
Yeah.
I wrote an article that said top 10 things missing from the Nintendo Switch. I could have came up with a lot more, but that's I narrowed it down to a top 10, and it's like they still didn't fix their Joy-Con drift issue. They still don't have chat rooms, so you can't chat with your friends on the Switch itself. You have to download an app or whatever. It's a whole slew of other things, but it's. Yeah. I mean, I'm a Nintendo fan. Don't get me wrong. I have a Nintendo Switch. It's right there in front of me. And, I mean, and I love playing Nintendo games and stuff like that, but you got to give them shit every now and then. Like you guys are behind the curve a bit.
Well, and and that's the thing is like they always have been, and it wasn't.
And they're still successful.
Yeah, the part of it is it wasn't that big of a deal for quite some time, but now the way that technology has boomed, it's like it stands out like like an eyesore. So it's like I still am going to play my Switch, and I still do. Like you were talking about your power being out a couple of years ago, we had that issue, and me and my son literally propped the Switch up on the table, and we sat there playing Mario Kart because we didn't have power, and that was the only entertainment.
Oh yeah, with the 25 hours I didn't have power, that's basically what I did. Was I played the Great Ace Attorney on my Switch. So
yeah. So I mean, they're like I'm not knocking them at all. It's just there's just some things that
you got to give them shit for.
Yeah,
give them shit for it.
That I feel like they need to make some better decisions, but who am I to say? I mean, they're making so much money. It's
exactly
crazy. But that's Pow Block. Go listen there if you want more some more positive talk about. No, but so I just like, for me though, Xbox, I was loving, like even at its worst times, I was bummed, like that we didn't have as many games coming in, or like, honestly, I'll be honest, some of the things that happened were because of backlash, that actually, in the overall, it's probably best for the business, but I was kind of like, hey guys, shut up. I actually like my Kinect. Now I don't have it anymore because of you. Thank you for complaining about it.
No kidding. The Kinect had such promise, and then all of a sudden, like, no one liked it.
No one liked it, and then they got rid of it, and I'm kind of like, F you guys. Why don't you just shut your dumb mouth? Don't get it then. Don't get the Kinect. Don't play the stuff on it. I want to play the stuff on it.
I mean, ultimately, in the end, they're dictated by sales numbers. So when they see like no one's buying the Kinect exclusive games, then they're like, okay, well, maybe it's not worth it. Same thing happened with the PlayStation Move. Same thing happened with, obviously Nintendo's focus on waggle physics for their games.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, and I get it, but it's just funny because you see a lot of the technology that was in that Kinect being used in some pretty interesting ways still to this day. Like, I forget what podcast I was listening to. They were talking about the Spider-Man experience at is it Disney or Universal or whatever, I think it was Disney. There's like
it's gotta be Disney.
A Spider-Man experience, and essentially the tech behind doing the 3D capturing and everything, so the game interacts with what you're doing is a Connect. So I think it was on Podcast Unlocked, the IGN's Xbox podcast, but I was just like, oh, that's weird. But I just was, like I said earlier, I'm a tech person. Like I just loved like the idea of it, and it was just so cool, like the whole like frame wire, like character thing that would move on the screen. It was interesting, and it was just a lot of fun for me. But yeah, so like I just being on this show is, like, for me, I like I said, I've been loving Xbox even in its worst times, and and I it's just really nice to see the direction that they're going in now, and definitely
the commitment to bringing good first party titles, because admittedly Xbox One was kind of lacking in that department compared to the PlayStation 4. And I mean, PlayStation 4 is going all in on their AAA titles, and it's still good. And this is a good segue into our next topic. It's still good to see Microsoft having a really big commitment to its indie developers, because that's really kind of what drives a lot of people to your system too. Like, if obviously the bigger the library, the more people are going to show up. So
just to end this, and we'll move along here, I just wanted to also say thank you, to everyone who listens. Like I understand, I'm sure I can be annoying sometimes, but I'm glad you're here for the ride with us, and just celebrating and loving to hear and talk about Xbox, because like I said, there's honestly none of the other shows that I would fit into as much as this one. So
right.
But so we'll move on here to talk about this great indies show, the ID at Xbox showcase that they had on Twitch. So it was hosted by Blind Gamer Steve and Strawberry 17, which obviously are both some popular streamers. I'm sure maybe people who are listening to this have never heard of them.
Nope.
I mean,
I admittedly, I don't follow streamers that much. So it's like, if these people are popular, good for them.
Yeah.
But it's just one of those things. Like I say, I don't follow streamers really.
Yeah, and honestly, the information I know about these streamers has been more through osmosis of just like being like paying attention to certain things, and I've just come across them before, and
right, yeah.
and I'll be honest, like I came across Blind Gamer Steve, and I was kind of just obviously, like, the fact that he is blind but is still playing games. Like, I knew it, obviously that meant it had to be a form of where he can still kind of see, but legally, there's a legal definition for a certain period of how much you can see that you are considered blind.
Right.
But still, that doesn't matter. It still makes things very much more challenging, because I don't like when I'm not wearing my glasses and I'm trying to play something because it looks so bad and I just can't see the detail. And it makes things way more difficult, especially when you're playing first person shooters.
Yeah.
But so I kind of looked a little bit into him just because I was interested and and everything, and learning a little bit more about the situation, what he's kind of trying to do, because that's the good thing is, I mean, if you do get into streamers, there's a lot of them out there who are they're doing what they love to do, but there's also a lot that they're doing, like you guys talked about, doing the stream to try to raise money and stuff, and there's a lot of that great stuff that goes on in the gaming community that we will hear about in passing a lot of time, but I feel like honestly, a lot of times it doesn't get enough focus. But like I thought they did a good job though of hosting the show and stuff.
Admittedly, I just Googled this because I just YouTubed this because I was kind of curious. If you go to Blind Gamer, if you go to him on YouTube, he has a YouTube channel, and you can actually view some of his past streams. But he actually has a 7-minute video of like what he sees when he's playing. Mm-hmm. And I mean, admittedly, I'm not listening to it right now, but it's he goes into a dive of like, this is what it looks like when I'm playing a game, and it's kind of eye opening because like, his vision quality is like 2/200 or something like that. Yeah. Which is wild to think about. But like it's everything is just very blurry. He can still see, but like detail is like he can't see or appreciate detail. Yeah. And that's just, I mean, it's one of those things like there's some games where it's like if you have to read, you can't read. I mean, you can't because the letters are completely illegible. Yeah. So.
Yeah, and and like I mean, it makes sense that they like Xbox kind of picked him because they I feel like I think they've probably been working with him and people like him and a lot of different people and trying to work with making
especially games. One particular game that's mentioned in the ID at Xbox.
Oh yeah, which I'm really super interested in because and we'll talk about that, but yeah. So they hosted, and then I wrote down like all the games. I don't know if we just list them off, and then if there's something you want to talk about, that like a game that you're in particular are interested in, just let me know. Just stop me.
Yeah, for sure.
So, all right. So Lightyear Frontier was one of the first games we've seen. This is like a farming kind of like, it seemed a lot like what's the one game that had done really bad and then they made it a lot better and stuff.
No Man's Sky.
Yeah, No Man's Sky. Yeah. It's like similar to that kind of, but on Earth, and they just like repurpose vehicles to make these mechs and stuff. It looked
and it's a farming simulator.
Yeah.
It's a farming simulator with base building, kind of a little bit of tower defense, and mechs. Yeah. Like who thinks like, what would make this farming game simulator really good? Mechs.
Yeah. Mechs made out of tractors. Because the one red one, the front of it looks like a tractor, the front of a tractor.
Yeah, right.
They show on it. So it's like your tractor could have did that.
Yeah.
But then the Wandering Village was the next game, and this was a really interesting kind of, again, a farm simulator, but you're like on the back of this, like these moving massive creatures.
Yeah, the Wandering Village. Yeah.
And then we were talking about Portal earlier. This game gave me some real Portal vibes.
Lab Rat.
Yeah, Lab Rat. Like I'm like, okay, I just because I love Portal so much, and like there's some of that humor and stuff in there, I'm like, I definitely want to play this. RPG.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because it has that same kind of like sentient computer voice, like overhead. That's got kind of like the cheeky humor a bit.
Yep.
And it sounds like the game actually tailors itself to your choices and your gameplay. Like in the trailer, there was like sections of like where it would ask you a question and then you answer, and then it'd say, okay, I will tailor the experience for you. So I imagine there's a little bit of customization in terms of what you like or what you're into.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds good.
And obviously, it's a puzzle building or a puzzle solving game. So it was, it looked really interesting, and I was definitely interested. The next one was RPG Time: The Legend of Wright.
I want to hear you try to explain this game.
So this game is essentially like the mix between Mario or Paper Mario, Paper Mario, your diary, and
your literal diary.
Your literal diary, and like a Dungeons and Dragons D&D campaign.
And
I don't know.
And game maker.
It was it's really interesting. Like I loved the whole like construction or like parts of it were even like pop-up books and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you turn the page, it would be like this stuff would pop up. It was very much, yeah, like more, I would say probably more like the Yoshi's Crafted World or something like that.
Right, yeah.
Where it
Yeah,
had
it looks
that
kind of interesting
feel.
because you're playing as a high school student and you're in school doodling in your notebook, and you're making a game. And basically that's the objective, is like you're trying to make this RPG game, and you're trying to make it by the end of the day. So it just boggles me, like, what are some gameplay elements of this? Like, is it like an over the top hack and slash? Is it kind of like cutscene animated, narrative driven kind of game? Like, there's so many different game mechanics in this that it's like it's hard to explain. That's why I was kind of curious to hear like how you would try to explain it.
Yeah, it was definitely like a mix of it's almost like a RPG, if an RPG game was a Mario Party game, like where you've got all different kinds of ways gameplay styles coming into play for different sections of the game. But yeah, it looked really cool and interesting. And then we got some more new story footage and character editing and stuff like that for Ali World, which I played a little bit of the first one. Like it was cool, like a really cool idea and interesting enough. I just never really kind of stuck with it.
Mm-hmm.
But I have to admit, I do think I like this more, just because you can kind of, the way you can, like, create your own character, and it seems like they had a lot of stuff to kind of change, on your character and edit, really create a fun character. So and
you can also change like your riding style. So like there's multiple different options that you could change of like how you make your jumps, how you make your ollies, and all that other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of cool.
Because I think they said that you could kind of almost create your own, not really create your own moves, but like you can kind of
create your own style. It's kind of cool. So like the level of customization, you could go as deep and in depth as you want to really make that character yours and set it apart from everybody else.
Well, and like honestly, that's the beauty of an indie game, right? Like it doesn't have to be this massive like super realistic looking game, and in turn that allows them to really have fun with the mechanics of the game itself.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's a perfect example of just an in-depth amount of stuff that you just wouldn't see in many big titles or AAA games. So this next one, I don't know about you, but I absolutely loved the look of this one. But it was inked A Tale of Love.
Yeah, looks really cool.
Yeah, like it was just like if you were to look at an artist, a lot of artists will have like a sketchbook of like where they'll just do everything is just in pencil kind of or whatever. And like those are ideas that maybe will turn into something that they paint or whatever down the line. Mm-hmm. But like, it's like the whole thing is done on just an art book and just with pencil or whatever, and little splashes of color here and there. But it was just really funny. Like when you see that real person hand come in at the end, and then like with the pen and is doing stuff, and so it's like you have these characters who've had a story written for them, but then the hand of God comes in and kind of messes with everything, and it looked really cool. So I'm definitely interested in that one. And then next was Sam and Max Save the World Remastered. So I think I did play one of the Sam and Max games. I'm not super familiar with it.
For me, it was such a long time ago because this game came out like I think about like 20 years ago, like a long time ago.
Yeah, it was on the original Xbox, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I remember playing something on the original Xbox, but yeah, like I mean
2006. That's when this game came out. Okay, so kind of 20 years old.
Yeah.
Maybe more like 17 or 16 or something.
Yeah. But I mean, like I've always I've always found the characters kind of interesting. Like some of those characters in some games, are less annoying than others, and I think they were definitely one of the more or less, like they were actually interesting and kind of funny and stuff. I believe they're also on the poker game with Portal or with Gladys and stuff like that. I think one of them wasn't he? I don't remember. I can't remember.
So yeah, originally this game was developed by Telltale Games. This was probably one of their first games they ever developed. And apparently some of the former developers created a new studio.
Yeah.
And I guess they ended up getting the license because when Telltale closed in 2018, they just released all their licenses. Basically, that was part of the sale. So I think some of the old developers basically bought this license and took it and decided to remaster it. So it's cool.
Which is cool. Honestly, we do have, we're seeing a lot of these kind of games come back, Ratchet and Clank and all that. And honestly, there's still a lot of space for those kind of animated kind of style games like that. So,
well, yeah, because as fast as video game technology is growing, you're leaving behind a lot of games in the dust that just don't look the greatest. Even the transition from CRT TVs to 1080p flat screen, LCD screens, whatever. And then you got the 1080p jump to 4K, and then pretty soon we're going to see 8K. And it's the technology is going to continue to kind of go fast.
Yeah.
And a lot of games are going to be left in the dust unless they kind of get, treatments like these.
Yeah, and this is kind of a side tangent, but and a little bit different, but the South Park games have always been pretty prevalent. I loved the first person shooter one that was in on 64.
On the 64, yeah.
Yeah, I used to play that all the time. But they're I just had recently learned about how they're making their own developing team to make their game.
They signed on to make 14 short films, and they created their own development studio, so they're working on the next game. So which I hope it's going to be some sort of something like Fractured But Whole or Stick of Truth or whatever. So
though I would like to see a Team America game.
Yeah, it would be cool. I would love to see that.
like doing the full-on Call of Duty, but with these puppet characters.
I would love that so much.
Totally just laying into it the humor and just oh my god, that would be hilarious.
I was gonna say I almost wish they would have made a sequel, but to that movie. But I still love the first one for what it is. So there's obviously they have plenty of ideas in their brains that they could probably come up with a completely brand new IP and it would just instantly be a hit because talk about some just super talented people. Those guys are just man. Well, just the fact that it's the show has been running for what 20 years now. 21 years now, probably a little bit longer than that.
They're on over 30 seasons.
It's just crazy to think that they're always obviously good humor and current trend humor, so they're making fun of the world right now as we see it, so there's no shortage of content for them to kind of rip on. So they could keep making this series as long as they can, but they got a lot of money for this deal from Viacom.
So. Well, and not
back to the Xbox showcase.
Yeah,
going off on a tangent.
Yeah. All right. So the next game was Planet of Lana, I believe it was named. Planet of Lana. Yeah, and I can't off of the top of the head. I'm blanking because there was 29 games that were shown at this thing. I don't know if you remember this one in particular at all.
No, I don't. They must have shot through this one because I don't remember this one. I think that was the scene where they showed a clip of a bunch of different. Yeah.
Yeah. And then after that it was Sable, which, you know, like we've already seen this, but we just got to see a little clip segment more of it. And yeah, this is that one that's again kind of like it's like a like an open world, but it's all like sketched, you know, with like a pencil. It almost looks like you know, on like a I don't know, like a not an off-white paper or something like that. It looks, I guess, kind of maybe like an old PC monitor, like back in the day, you know, like where it's just very minimal and almost no color. But yeah, I played the beta of that, and it's definitely an interesting game. It's interesting. It's cool. It has a lot of interesting things about it. But
okay.
Mad Streets was the next one, and this is like your kind of like I don't know, those Fall Guys and or get like kind of like your Gang Beasts and those kind of games, but it was more of like almost quasi Streets of Rage like kind of characters that you play as.
Okay.
It looked interesting enough. The next one was Button City, and I don't remember a whole lot about this one either. That's the thing. There's ones that just really I was interested in. I remember something about, but
yeah, She Dreams Elsewhere was another one where it was like that was like kind of like a flower or like a journey type game, I think. I remember.
Yeah.
A lot of these were kind of like quick shots, and I was like, I mean, me personally, I didn't want to like research all of them individually, but you know, I think it was like there's a video you can follow where it's like, yeah, Xbox just hits you with like 10 of these.
Yeah.
Little shorts.
And then the next one was Project Wingman, and I believe this, I don't remember, but I think this was the one, if I'm not mistaken it was something else. I think this was the one that was kind of similar almost to like what's like
beats me, man.
Hydro Thunder and like games like that where it's like an arcadey racer kind of thing, but you play as airplanes.
You play as airplanes.
I think that's what it was, if I'm not mistaken. But
yeah, it kind of looked like an arcade version of I don't know if you remember the old games, G-Lock.
Yeah.
G-Lock, Afterburner, kind of stuff like that. So.
Yeah, and it was like, I think it was like you could play multiplayer with friends and stuff, but
yeah.
The next one was one that we had seen before, and I've been super excited and waiting for here, Loot Runner. So this was the one where you're playing as like this odd this character that's almost like westerny kind of style looking, but he's got the bird, like that mask thing I think on, or maybe he is actually like a bird character. And then you're kind of like, it's kind of somewhat of a top, I think there was some areas that were top down, or like at a different angle and it's a lot of like solving puzzles and trying to like kind of move around fast and take out, you know, enemies and things as you're moving along. But it, like, the whole idea, if I remember correctly, of the game was moving pieces like to connect together, and then you have to be on certain pieces as you're moving your character to kind of progress through the maze, like kind of thing, to get to the loot, you know, at the end. So it's kind of almost like a cave or like type kinds of things, and like sewer like looking areas and stuff. Yeah, that game I thought looked pretty interesting. The next one was Solace State. I don't remember a whole lot about this one either.
I just actually Googled that one. That one was the cyberpunk
yes,
narrative choice. What do they call those? Narrative, like interactive books or something like that. I don't know what they call it, but
yeah,
it's basically just all like relationships, conversations, choices. Blah blah blah.
Yeah, which there's, you know,
graphic, not graphic novels. keep going.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those that will appeal to there. There'll be a nice big chunk of people that
visual novel.
Visual novel, yeah.
Visual novel. That's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah. So I just remember like the word solace, and then underneath it, like in all weird design state being underneath it. That's all I remember is the title screen.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and then the next one was Soup Pot, which this is another game that we've already seen at a prior Xbox show. They actually had a pretty good section where they talked to the creators and really went in depth on this game. What's
the game about?
It's a cooking game. It's a cooking sim type kind of game. What
do you make in this game?
You're dealing with like all kinds of like
you make soup.
Well,
soup.
I think there's some other
game.
stuff
There's
too.
a game about soup.
Well,
listen. I love indies. I love independent developers. I love the creativity that they come up with. Yeah. And just like, God, they make these games with like these crazy mechanics, these crazy little like genre bending things. And then all of a sudden a game like this comes out where it's like, hey, make some soup.
Well, so
yeah, I know you can make other food. Yeah, whatever, blah, blah, blah.
This might go over some people's head, but the one thing I remember from when they had their big deep dive thing with the devs is they actually added how
do you deep dive a game like this? Hey, what do you do in this game? Yeah, you make soup. Well, let's talk about making soup. Well, you put a bunch of water in a bucket or a pot, and then you cook it, and then you throw other ingredients in it. You can throw tofu in it. You can throw vegetables in it. You can throw meat in it.
Like, yeah, they deep dive because they focus on like where the like the tradition and stuff that she put in the game and stuff because the Japanese culture and stuff like that, and like they talked about some of that, but like she gave a spoiler and said there is one of the achievements.
A spoiler? Oh my God. Oh wow, jeez, no, don't tell me anymore. Don't tell me anymore. Don't spoil the game for me.
Spoiler is she left the soup out too long. It's spoiled. No, she's like there is a you can get an achievement for the 5-second rule, so you can drop food on the ground and then you can pick it up and put it in the soup.
I mean that's kind of cool, but geez, why do we have a game where you can make soup?
I don't know.
That's fine. It's fine.
Yeah,
it's fine.
I mean, hey, well, think about it. You don't look at how expensive it is to buy ingredients to make it in real life. You can just spend like $15.
Soup isn't that expensive. Come on. Don't even go there. Soup is not that expensive. It depends on how fancy you want to get, but
yeah. The next game was Inkulinati.
I imagine it's Illuminati, whatever.
Yeah, but ink. Yeah. So yeah, this was a lot of games about like, like with drawing and art, like the art style type kind of, stuff being the focus in this one. But yeah, this
reminds me of that Procession to Calvary game that I was playing recently with the whole Renaissance paintings.
Yeah. It's very much like that. It's a very like just interesting and obscure kind of stuff, and it looked interesting enough. I'll be honest, it kind of caught my eye, but I don't know if it ultimately would be something for me. But
wow, yeah. So I mean, what kind of game would tear you away from Soup Pot?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
Something's got to be
a lot of these games. Hey, telling you right now, Soup Pot.
Game of the year. Get out of here. Get out of here.
All right, the next one was Anvil Vault Breakers, and this was like a twin stick kind of like shooter almost, but like I don't know, there's some things about this that stood out to me where I kind of was interested. Twin stick shooters, it's like a lot of times it feels like they're a dime a dozen.
Oh yeah, there's tons. I mean, this is an oversaturated market, I think sometimes.
Yeah. But this one, I actually like there was enough like kind of stuff to it that just made me interested. You know, like every once in a while that will happen with me, like where just something that just normally I would ignore or whatever will just, for whatever reason, something will just kind of catch my eye and have me interested in it. So yeah,
like soup pot.
Yep.
Man, I'm gonna be making fun of you.
I can't wait the whole
episode.
I'm gonna do a 24-hour stream of soup pot.
I will drive up to your house and I will break your TV if I see that. Do not. No, it's fine. It's fine.
Then the next game was Paparazzi, which was essentially dogs or Pokemon Snap, but like just dogs and like, you know, wherever they're whatever they're doing, whether they're sitting somewhere or
you can play fetch with them.
Yes.
You can make them. You can put a cheeseburger in their mouth and you can make them eat it.
You can give them eyelashes.
You can give them eyelashes.
Starry eyes.
Dog. You know, you get dog sunglasses. You could put them out on a raft.
Yep.
And you take pictures of them with different filters. I mean, come on. Better than soup pot.
Yeah. Snapchat, eat your heart out. No, and then the next one was Eon Drive. And now this game was like one of those that I was just like, okay, I'm really interested in this.
Yeah.
But they showed a good chunk of like gameplay and stuff, and it's like a cyberpunk style, like a fast-paced platformer. Like, you know, you see like it was one that was built for people who love speed running games, like platformers. And they, so I just kind of wrote this down because I feel like most people that were watching this were probably like, wait, what? This is a part 2 to something? So yeah, they said this is actually takes place after Dimension Drive, which is their first game. They said the two games are completely different. Like, you play that game and it's nothing like that original game, but the story takes place after it. And so I was kind of like, okay, I kind of want to write that down just in case someone's interested. But yeah, Dimension Drive. But yeah, this, like, there's a really, like, I really like the whole idea of like you had this like blade that you throw and then it would stick into the wall, and then it's a teleporting blade. So wherever you throw the blade, you can then have it teleport you to where it is. And so obviously, like, they'll have like an easy path of but it takes longer to get to the end, or a difficult path where you're having to use this blade and really be good at hitting your shots of where you throw it and how to land, when to teleport and all that, so you don't get hit by an enemy the second you teleport there. And yeah, it just looked really fun. So yeah. Then the next game was The Big Con, and this was like a fun, like, 90s style, like,
reminded me of Saved by the Bell.
Yeah, it was like Saved by the Bell meets Doug.
Yeah. That's a good mix, actually.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And then they have, if you're remember the show Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego, they have the rockapella that sang the theme song for where Carmen Sandiego also did the theme song for this game. So
cool, I didn't know that. That's neat.
Yeah, they kind of bring it up in there, but I had heard that before I watched this, that some game had them doing the theme song for it, and I didn't really know what it was. And then I was watching this, I'm like, oh, that's the game that I heard about. So yeah, I'm interested in this just because, like, like 80s, obviously I was born in the 80s, but like 80s and 90s nostalgia, I mean, it's all there.
I mean, the mission that you have to save your mom's video rental store.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't get any more 90s than that.
Yeah. It is so great. Yeah. And like Strawberry 17 actually said, she's like, this reminds me of a game that I would have rented from Blockbuster.
Yeah.
Or something like that. I'm just like, it's perfect. And then the next game, which is the one we were kind of teasing earlier, is The Veil. So this is an audio only game.
Yeah.
And
literally no, I mean, there's text prompts to it, like if you go to the pause menu.
Yeah.
But not only do you have the story being told to you through dialogue and an overlord like narrator, but you also have like a narrator kind of telling you which actions to take. You know, swipe right, move left, hit the A button, this like that. And even like navigating through the menu. I mean, this game literally caters to blind players. Like,
yeah.
You know, so you don't have to read anything. You don't have to, there's nothing even to see. All you see on the screen is basically like little air bubbles like floating around.
Yeah, it's like smoke or fog almost.
Yeah.
Like on a gray. When they showed it, it was like a gray background with just like haze and like white like fog and smoke kind of just.
And I think there's a lot of echolocation. So like if you're in an area and you need to move around, you actually follow the sounds a bit. So like you're moving around with the joystick and you're following the source of certain sounds.
Yeah.
And you know, you move until that sound gets louder and louder and louder. Then obviously the next cutscene happens. So this game was made in conjunction with the Canadian Institute, Canadian National Institute for the Blind. So that's really cool.
Yeah.
They're actually co-producing this.
Yeah, and
this game's coming out this week too.
Yeah. I'm super interested because I like, you know, like there's everyone, I feel like everyone has had that time where you just like you think to yourself, what would it be like just trying to put yourself in the shoes of someone, you know, with some kind of disability like that. Like just because you just can't when you're not missing something like sight, it's just not something you can really imagine.
No,
I mean, even just closing your eyes and trying to navigate around your house without opening them. Like, I mean, that, you know, I guess partially, but you know, like for this, it's like I just really like that was just like really, because I'm like, okay, like so how is this gonna work? And then, you know, as they're talking about it more and more, then you kind of learn. But yeah, just the idea of, and he said he like went full on with the super, you know, high, you know, kind of 160, he said, sound quality, and just really wants to make it that you have to really turn to kind of hear where sounds are coming from to navigate.
That 3D aural sound too, especially. I mean, obviously this game is going to be best played with headphones. Yeah. So.
Yeah, for sure. And on my Xbox, I have Dolby Atmos on it, so like it already does that, like that 3D kind of stuff. But then it should hopefully help really well with that. That'll be a good game to test it on, to really test it. So yeah, that it sounds so awesome. So I'm super interested. And yeah, the guy that made it actually was from the same city in Canada that Blind Gamer Steve actually was from as well. And so they kind of had, you know, Steve was like, yeah, he's like, I can't wait. He's like representing, you know, my town and stuff like that. So that was kind of a cool chance, you know, for that connection too with it, and him being blind, literally being blind too, which is, you know, even more so. But so the next game that we got a new like little bit more in-depth kind of almost story trailer, I feel like, of Origami 2. And I don't think they showed like really any gameplay in this one. I think we got,
I mean, it was in the form of cutscenes.
Yeah, because I think we seen some gameplay in the last time that this was shown. And I think this kind of just was focusing a little bit more in depth about like what the game was going to be about. From what I remember, like this was something that I was kind of interested in, and you know, seeing how well it does. Like, you know, samurai ninja type kind of stuff. We've been getting some of that quite a bit. But I'll be honest, still to this day, one of my favorite games on Nintendo was the Kung Fu game. Like I loved that game. So like I'm all in. I'm all for it. That's why like I never really super got into the From Software games, but I absolutely love what's it called? The last game that they did, the where you're a ninja and whatever. But yeah, so
Sekiro.
Yeah, Sekiro, yeah.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, all right, and then the next game was Pathfinder, Wrath of the Righteous. This was definitely like your Diablo kind of style game, I think, right? Like I don't really play a whole lot of that kind of stuff. I kind of did when I was into PC gaming like a long time ago in my teens.
Yeah.
But I don't really play a whole lot of that anymore. But this did look really fun and cool. So.
No, yeah, I'm yeah. I mean, sure.
Yeah.
I'm not in the card-based battle games. So.
Okay.
But to each their own.
Yeah, I'm not super into card battle games really too much either, except for like, like the actual physical ones in person. Like I've, like I don't know, there's a couple of games, card-based games that I've played with friends.
Get your cards out of my game. Just saying.
Munchkin.
Like everybody always talks about Gwent in Witcher 3, and I'm just like, no, I didn't play a single round of Gwent in Witcher 3 at all. Didn't need to.
Yeah. And the next game was Evil Genius 2, and so like this is like your typical like I don't know, like just weird chaotic, kind of I don't really know how to explain it, but it's like just basically like chaotic
evil boss simulator.
Yeah. Like like you're building like I
imagine it's a little bit of tower defense, at least from what I understand.
Yeah, it gave me some real Minions like vibes kind of stuff.
Right.
And then Stardew Valley is coming to Xbox. So this game it's
coming to Game Pass.
Yeah, Game Pass.
Specifically, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, because I was gonna say like I thought this has been out for like a long time. But yeah, I mean everyone seems to love this game. And again, this is a game that I think was literally only made by the one person, right?
Yep, only one person. Yeah.
So, man, like because they talk with them a little bit about it. Strawberry does, and like he's just like I could never have imagined it would be as big as it was. Like he just talked about how shocked and stuff, and to be one person making something,
who knew,
that would be insane.
Yeah,
but I mean, hey man, like there's a reason there's a lot of people who love Nintendo. I mean, like this is the kind of games that Nintendo is well known for, like these kind of fun games like Mother and so I mean, it honestly I know it doesn't matter because it's like you can release a game and just be completely overlooked, but
you could be it's amazing that you could be one person and make a game. I mean, the chances of it being hugely successful are very slim. Not every one person developer is going to make a Stardew Valley with the same amount of popularity, but still the fact that you could be that. One person making one of the most popular indie games in recent history. That could be you.
Well,
if you want it to be.
And honestly, and I know like you have just a tiny bit of experience with this, but I mean, just even writing a book, like look, there's so many books out there about, like you name it, but like just some of them end up just catching on with a lot of people, and like that's not something that you can predict at all. Like,
no, I imagine, like I said, he didn't. When he was making this game, he was probably thinking, I think a few people will like this game.
Yeah. And the next one was kind of an interesting Library of Rowena.
Yeah. What are you? That's a librarian simulator.
Yeah, but it's an RPG, like a turn-based. Like
yeah, it's almost like a little bit of a card-based battle system too, as well.
Yeah.
But basically you're competing against other librarians for their books.
Yeah.
And then when you beat them, you put their books in your library. So you got the biggest library in the neighborhood. Man,
yeah,
it's just like, okay, we go from like, hey, here's a game about soup. And now here's a game about being a librarian. There's something for everybody.
Yeah, literally, like I said, like now, and it just keeps getting more and more that there's just something and more people getting interested in gaming. And and that's the thing is, I mean, like I think it's awesome that there's you just think of crazy things to plot your story in and
I guess,
and go with it.
mm-hmm.
All right, the next one was Space Lines from the Far Out, and so this was like a space transit kind of game where you're like trying to upgrade your like basically like a bus spaceship.
Intergalactic travel company.
Yeah. And
you're an intergalactic travel company, and you're subjected to health inspectors to check out your stuff. And you got to bring your customers to their destinations on time. And you got to make sure everything's running smoothly. Because if you don't, your business will fail.
Feed them, possibly.
Yeah.
They talked about like you can actually have like people that will go around and offering food and drinks and stuff to people. And yeah, it's like essentially like that game that a lot of people, you'd hear about people playing when Uber was just first starting, about what they would do in their vehicle to make theirs the one that everyone wants to ride in, like kind of thing. So it's almost like that, but in a game, in video game form. So, and then the last game that they showed off was Artful Escape. And this is a very weird and interesting game, but like what I gathered was basically you're like, it's like a platformer where you're just going through the level playing guitar to like the different sounds that are in these multiverse that you're kind of traveling through.
Yeah, you're trying to play as a character that wants to be this famous folk guitarist, wants to be this famous musician, but lacks that. I guess it's one of those things. He doesn't have the confidence, so he needs to be. Apparently, Carl Weathers comes into the screen.
Yeah.
In the trailer, and he's like this rock god or something like that. So he's supposed to be the muse. He's supposed to find his way. So yeah, you're just like ripping on the guitar, like going through colorful platforming levels and sequences. It looks pretty cool. I mean, colorful in a sense.
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of those. Do you remember Rayman? The more recent Rayman, where like you get to those
legends.
You get to those like runner moments where like you're playing a song as you're going through the level. That's what this reminds me of.
Yeah. It definitely has those kind of vibes where I'll be honest, I'm kind of interested in it just because like anytime you focus on music in a game, like I'm interested in seeing what you kind of have to offer. So
yeah.
All right. And so so those are some of those games that we talked about were in a different order, but they did at one point talk with Sarah Bond about ID at Xbox, and and they kind of went into a whole spiel of like how how people can join their service, and like how they help these indie developers kind of get their chance to be able to make the games that they want to, and kind of like their their dream games, and actually make them come to fruition.
Obviously, making an independent game. Can you imagine going to Activision and being like, "Hey, I want to make a game where you make soup."
Yeah.
And then they're like, "That's it."
Be like, what?
That's it. And they're like, "Yeah, that's it. You just make soup."
Does this soup have an arsenal of guns to pick from?
Yeah, I was gonna say, does this soup explode?
Yeah.
So that's the beauty about independent development, is you basically making the game on your own terms.
Yeah, I mean,
and Microsoft is just giving you the backing, giving you the funds, giving you the advertisements. And the ID program is actually pretty clever, because she talks about it a little bit. She's like, all you have to do is fill out an application and submit a little bit of what you're working on, and Microsoft will sign off on it, or maybe they won't. But they give you the option to, like, we'll help you. And with their marketing system, their discoverability on their storefront, the sales, even the access to possibly Game Pass, like, Xbox will take a small cut. Doesn't matter how successful you are, if you're successful or not, they take the same cut no matter what. And obviously it benefits you in the long run, because you get a little bit of a budget.
Yeah, and so like, as they were talking to her, like, talking about everything, there's kind of just a couple of key things that I just put in the extra info. So it's kind of our extra content for today's episode. So she said that over 2,000 games were released through ID at Xbox, and so 2,000 games, and I mean, this, like, this is a fairly newer service, like, I mean, it's been out, I think, for like 5 years, maybe.
A lot of indie games.
Yeah. So 2,000 games, and altogether, all the games that have been released have made over $2 billion in revenue. So that's crazy. So that's money for these developers that had developed these games.
And that's money for Xbox. I mean, bottom line, as your publisher, obviously they're going to get a certain cut of that. And I mean, it's money for both sides, obviously.
I'm sure they've definitely, like, Microsoft got their money back, and these indie developers got the chance to make what they wanted and made money off of it.
Yeah, for sure.
So, and then some other things that she touched on is just kind of some little key, data stuff. But that Game Pass has seen 8 times the amount of people playing games on,
like indie games.
Playing the indie games and stuff, the games that go on the service. And she said that Game Pass owners play 40% more games. So just people who have that, like, we talk about it all the time. Like, I have access to this game. Normally I would have just ignored it and been like, whatever, I don't know if I would like it enough to spend, gamble the $30 or the $20 or whatever on this game. And so, I mean, it makes sense. Like, and then in turn, these indie developers are getting a chance possibly to release another game, and then now, like, they hopefully will make more money the second time around. So,
or even get, I mean, it's a resume builder too. Like, imagine like applying to a video game developer. It's like, oh, hey, what are your accolades? What are some of the projects you worked on? Well, I was on part of this small indie team or whatever, or I solo developed this game, and it's like, all right, cool. That's resume building too.
Those are the kind of people that end up becoming like the leads in, like, like these big, like, Bethesda's or big, massive gaming industries. So because they're, like, you hear about these people that are just like just so great at what they do that they just create this massive company from it, because they have, they're just really good at what they do. So, and especially when you're developing everything by yourself, that means you literally know every piece of game creation, and obviously it makes you a very important player in a developing company. So, So, all right. So, I don't know if, Stoy, did you want me to just kind of read these off? The Game Pass stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I can do that. Okay. A lot of these games aren't coming exclusively to Game Pass. A lot of them are kind of like, they're launching on other platforms as well. So, but some of the games are coming to Game Pass on day one. Like Origami 2 is coming to Game Pass, and that one's being released September 17th. Pathfinder, Wrath of the Righteousness, if you're into that sort of thing. March 2022. Paparazzi doesn't even have a release date.
Yeah,
but we're expecting that sometime soon. So that's going to be Game Pass release. Evil Genius 2, they say Q4 2021, so sometime by the end of the year. That'll be on Game Pass as well. Stardew Valley, obviously they said fall. Library of Rowena, that game is out now, actually.
Okay. All right.
So you can jump on that right now. Space Lines from the Far Out, that's that intergalactic space travel taxi game. That one doesn't have a release date, but I think they said like 2022.
Okay.
Oh no, they said sometime this fall.
Okay.
And I
missed some of them.
Yeah.
I missed some of them.
And then Artful Escape is coming out on September 9th. That one's coming out on day one on Game Pass as well. So
nice.
So it's there's, I mean, I don't know who benefits more, if it's the AAA developers or the indie developers when they go on Game Pass, but I think honestly it benefits being an indie developer going on Game Pass, because that, like you said, easier access for people who have the service to download your game and play your game and recommend that game to others. And even like if that game were to leave Game Pass, which most of these games do, you can just you can buy the game afterwards, and obviously get a pretty decent discount afterwards.
Yeah, and and like, there's an unfortunate side effect that's slowly starting to happen. That happens, unfortunately, with anything. Once something gets more popular and there's more focus on something, you start to have your negative stuff. Like the other day, I was kind of going through Game Pass games and, just kind of looking at them. And I don't always look into reviews and stuff like that, because I kind of like to play stuff and find out for myself. But I was looking at some games that a lot of people were loving, that are on Game Pass, but then you had like a lot of people were giving it like a 1-star for seemingly no reason, and then saying this is the downfall of Game Pass. And I'm like, okay, Jesse, you got to remember this is the loud minority.
The very very small minority.
Yeah. So but it like that's the thing, is like, obviously there's gonna be people who are gonna look at indie games and think, oh, like, that's not what I want. Well, that's not for you, but and that's fine if you don't, like, if indie games aren't your thing, but you are missing out if you're not playing indie games, because there are some real experiences there that you will not find anywhere else. I can guarantee you.
Absolutely.
I used to be the same way.
Some of the most enriching experiences I've had were from playing indie games, games made by small teams that just like give me more meaningful impact than, big AAA titles.
Yeah. Again, my game of the year right now, Death's Door, a $20 game. It's such an amazing game, but it's an indie game. I mean, if I was one of those people that's like, oh, I don't like indie games, and just ignored it, I'd be missing out on such a great game this year.
Right.
So, like, that's the thing, is it's nice because Game Pass gives people that opportunity to not be sure and still try these out, which is just so important for the developers and for, people who want to broaden their.
Well, because ultimately in the end, they want that game to be played. I mean, a lot of times, a lot of people don't break into independent video game development, strike it rich. Like, you're not going to, unless you have that once in a lifetime, rare instance where like people flop the game. They just want their game to be played. And the fact that they're on a service like Game Pass and have reached a huge audience, millions of subscribers, like, it's nothing short of amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's just definitely, I love where Game Pass has been, and where it's like this idea at Xbox stuff, I think, has just been something that a lot of people have been kind of asking for to return for since 360. So Like, I think they're just doing an awesome job, and we're getting some pretty cool looking indie games. So.
Oh yeah, for sure.
All right. So today's topic, I felt like, you know what? It's been a long time, like on when it was just me, Corey, and Ed doing Pow Block and then Arsenal X. Like we a lot of times we would get caught up in just trying to get excited, getting excited about like the question of what could be, and and things like that. And so I just kind of wanted to have like almost a throwback kind of thing of just kind of I came up with the topic of just like, so if Microsoft was able to, like, Microsoft came up to you and said, hey, I want you to storyboard or come up with an ideas for games, that would be exclusive for us, and you have access to any movie, show, book, like any IP that you could imagine. Like, what is a game that you would want to make, and what IP would you like it to focus on?
So, being the sci-fi guy that I am, with Mass Effect, the first series that came to my mind was The Expanse. Okay. I don't know if you've ever seen The Expanse. It was on Sci-Fi. It was on the Sci-Fi Channel for like a few seasons, and then it got picked up by Amazon Prime, and I think they're on like their 7th season right now.
Yeah.
It's taking place kind of like near future. Space travel is kind of the thing, but the reason why I like The Expanse so much is that it's very much rooted in science and very much rooted in this is what it would look like. No fancy, gravity, artificial gravity sensors or like any kind of crazy faster than light travel and stuff. That's all kind of cool, like sci-fi shit. But, we all got to understand that those things aren't possible with what we know of technology right now.
Yeah.
So the fact that the Expanse goes into like, if you were to live on Mars for a few generations, like, you wouldn't be able to handle the atmosphere that the Earth has to offer. Or if you live on other colonies in the solar system, like your body would change. And we're talking humans with different body styles and body shapes because of where they grow up in the solar system with, the effects of gravity or the effects of the air quality or the food quality or something like that. Like the way they go so in depth. I want a game like that where like, it's kind of like a Mass Effect space opera type of thing, but maybe a little bit more action focused. That would be cool if Microsoft came in, bought the rights to The Expanse, and just made it into like a video game series, like a trilogy or something like that.
Well, like I told you, I love sci-fi. That like, because
do you have Amazon Prime?
Yes, I do.
Watch this. I mean, it's so good. The politics involved, the intrigue, and just the different civilizations of it's all humanity. They're all humans. There's no aliens in this at all, but it's like the different humans and where they grow up and their viewpoints and how they're viewed by others. Like it's so cool. It's so intriguing. Like how in depth they go.
Well, and I like that it, like, honestly, from like what you're saying, like there's almost an opportunity there to not only entertain and like have a really cool like story and experience that you could be experiencing, but also almost learn like real science, like, because you said it's a lot of it is based around like reality of like what could and couldn't happen in science, and if it couldn't happen in science, then they don't focus or have that happening in the show, which I like they could almost have like a some kind of learning experience that could go with it even.
Well, I mean, admittedly, there are little bits of learning in Mass Effect where, you're reading codex entries and stuff like that, but the majority of gamers don't dive into that. I mean, admittedly, I don't dive into it that much. I feel like I should sometimes, but it is what it is. But the Expanse weaves it around, dialogue and character interactions and stuff. And even like there was a scene of like somebody like the Earth government captured this miner from another colony or whatever, but like we're talking like Marfan syndrome, like body dysmorphia, where like they were tall, skinny, lanky, and their body would crumble in Earth's gravity. So like they were torturing this individual to say like, yeah, you're here and we're not accommodating you because we know that Earth's gravity will crush you eventually. Yeah. So it's like it's so cool, like, and I think that was in like the first episode of the first season, but like it's so cool to have those moments of just like rooted in reality.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, so man, like even though I came up with this topic, I was like really having a hard time like trying to pick a particular thing that, because there's so many things that I would love to do, but it's like a matter of trying to figure out like how exactly. So there was two in particular, so I don't know, I didn't get to finish all of the show yet. I still need to, but I really did like what I had seen. I don't know if you had seen any of the show The Strain.
No, I have not.
Okay. So this was like a vampire type kind of movie, but like they have these weird like tentacle like tongue things that shoot out of their mouth, and like I don't know. It's like it's really weird. So like I was thinking about that, but I'm like, I don't know. But so I ended up going with my favorite show, and I think Chris mentioned on the episode of this show podcast that you did with him that he was a fan of this. But like one of crap. So I was basing mine on The Fringe. So
okay.
So this show was one, like I've watched this is what makes it even more heartbreaking that I couldn't think of the title of it, but I've watched this show like seriously from episode 1 to the final episode like 4 times through. Mm-hmm. And it's I think at least like 5 seasons or 4 seasons, and so like the whole idea of this is, and like it kind of goes like with too, like I've always been a big Ghostbusters fan,
right?
So this show is like almost in a way it's similar to like Ghostbusters, but if you were dealing with like sci-fi like aliens or like weird like alien like technology that you're having to deal with, or people that are like have these different abilities to like like superheroes, literally, like people that can hear stuff from far away or whatever, and just these weird people. And so like the whole show was kind of like it was done similar to like your CSIs and your like that kind of shows where it's like you got the team that goes out to go investigate and mm-hmm. kind of thing. But there was a unlike I feel like a lot of those shows, there is a really, really deep seated storyline that's still going on behind all of it. And there's a lot of plot twists and things like that. And now, like doing that stuff in game form, like I would like to see it because I'm a fan of that, of the the IP or whatever. Right. But if they were to still put some of those plot twists and the things like that going on in the game, like I honestly think that like the writing and stuff would make for such an amazing like fun game of like where you're finding out things that happened, or finding out that certain people maybe aren't who you think they are, or like those kinds of plot like kind of twist things that you see in movies and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But one of the things about it though that really makes me want this in game form is like we were talking earlier about things that will do something that's serious but at the same time still be able to really hit on that humor and stuff. And so like one of the main characters in this show, his name is Walter. he's like one of the other main characters that you see prevalent in the show is his son. And there he had been doing this like science. He was like this mad scientist at one point, until he literally went mad and was locked up in an insane asylum. And you find like what happens is this weird anomaly happens, and something like crazy weird happens that no one can explain, and it comes back to some of these scientific experiments and things that this guy's father Walter was doing. And so then the whole show kind of starts out with them having to try to get him out of the insane asylum to help them try to solve this thing. And then it's just ongoing. It's constantly more and more of these things that are linking to him and this.
So would this be an action game or something like that, or what?
Yeah, it would. For me, I think it would be
something.
Well, it would be more of, actually, I think more of like a walking sim slash like investigation, like games like where you have like certain equipment that you use to try to find certain hints and things in an area. Mm-hmm. I would like it to kind of be more about like, because the show is more about solving. There is some, like they do use weapons and things like that at certain times. But I would like to see a game that kind of focuses more on like the scientific and like, fun kind of like parts of that, and like an investigation. And because like right. I'm also like, why the show hits so hard with me is I love watching like, like murder case files, kind of, like those.
You're one of those.
Like okay. Those kind of shows, but I prefer that kind of stuff in a science fiction form, like not reality, because that's just depressing. Mm-hmm. Like so like for me it would be just kind of fun to have something like that, and then based in an IP though that I'm really really interested in.
Right.
I think, and like I said, like without going like super into detail, but like the characters ultimately in that show are what make that show interesting to me. Mm-hmm. The father character, who doesn't remember anything, by the way, through almost the entire show. Walter is just this crazy, just weird, funny guy. And like there's this like he's very very into psychedelic drugs and just like all these weird things. At one point he's telling his assistant, like she asks him what he needs to solve this case that they're on or whatever. And he tells her all the things, and he's like, and also I need a cow. And she's like, what, a cow? And then it cuts to like later on. Turns out he wanted the cow just so he could get fresh milk every morning. So the cow lives in his science laboratory, and like, and he takes good care of it and stuff, and just gets milk from it occasionally. It's just like, there's just so many weird, interesting characters that I think would be really fun, and for, just a good, interesting storyline for, and like characters you'd meet throughout the game and different kinds of things. Now, honestly, I wouldn't want it to be like exactly the show, note for note, but right. I would like it to just kind of be like, here's some crazy shenanigans, things they went on, that weren't on the show, kind of thing. So, but yeah, that would be it for me, pretty much.
Have you ever watched the Black Mirror shows on Netflix?
Yes.
I kind of thought about that a while ago, where those shows kind of have this Eternal Darkness like vibe to me, where every episode is like some different weird thing. Yeah. And I'm not going to bother trying to explain it, because I'm gonna have to go into depth too much in terms of explaining every episode that I've seen. But it would be cool to create like a game where every level is something completely different. And this would be kind of like a monumental task because I could see, like literally making 6 games in one.
Yeah.
But I think it would be cool to make a full game in the Black Mirror style of just like something extremely weird and some different weird game mechanic every level. And I know games like that have been made where like, you'll like, segue into different like game modes where it'll be a racer, or it'll be a twin stick shooter, or it'll be a third person action game, or a stealth game. Eat Lead, The Return of Matt Hazard kind of reminds me a little bit of that. But that would be cool to have that where it's like something like really like kind of sociologically weird, with weird characters and unique characters and even like weird circumstances, but have it in that Black Mirror style. And if you've seen the shows or if you've seen the series, you don't understand what I'm talking about. But I think that was the only other one I thought of where I was like, that'd be really cool if like Microsoft came in and created an anthology like that, where it was like, kind of like the Dark Pictures anthology, where like everyone is different, but they're short in scope. So
that would definitely be very cool. Like, and honestly, like even just any kind of like psychological horror or whatever type stuff, like I'm always in for that. Which there's a couple of games on Xbox I've been eyeing up that are in that $15 range that are getting really good reviews that are like the medium and stuff like that, where it's just very much psychological horror stuff. But I can never get enough of that. And I think that'll end the show for today. As a good kind of conversation.
Yeah, for sure. No, I mean, there's probably 300 different ones, but I could think of, but it's like, it has to fit in terms of a gameplay perspective. And something really unique that I think like, if you're going to throw a lot of money in it, it's got to be unique in a way. So, obviously I'm in, I've said my piece with it. So, but the one thing I would like to see is I would like to see a true comedy game. And that's not something that's, you see that often because you see games with comedy in it, but to have like a real true comedy game, like if you were to take, a funny TV show right now, like, I mean, can you imagine a video game like The Office? Like if Telltale Games made The Office, the video game, that'd be kind of wild.
So, that would be, that would be interesting.
But
it would
definitely
be a task to take on because, I mean, like you said, like we have games with comedy in them, but to like literally make the main focus of the game be comedy is
right, for sure.
Definitely. But look at, like you have games that focus on just interesting things that you just never think would work, but who knows, it just take the right person to that can visualize it to make it something. So but that would be interesting because there I guess though I guess I kind of almost played a game that's like that. I played that there's a game that was like about where you're playing as a person who joins a game dev team who's making a game, but like there's game elements in it, but a lot of the game is like story, like of what these game developers are having to do and all that. A lot of it's all weird, but it's very much about like a lot of the game takes place in the office where your desk is, and and stuff like that, and you're having to fight people because you have a shark. They have a shark in your game that's like the main bad guy, and it's like a surfer game where you're surfing and you're trying to stay away from the shark or whatever. And then there's people outside protesting because the like PETA type kind of thing where they're like, oh, we don't want the sharks getting hurt or whatever, something dumb like that. But it's an interesting game. But all right, well that'll wrap it up for today. So Stoy, where can we find you?
Well, not only can you find me on Arsenal X, the Xbox podcast with the Boss Rush group, I also run the EXP Cast. We're another video game podcast. I record with 3 of my good friends. We obviously talk about video games. We record a new episode drops every Monday and Thursday morning, and you can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at EXPcast. I run the socials, so if you want to get a hold of me, that's pretty much the best place to go. That's where you can find me.
All right, yeah, and you can find me everywhere as Phantom NXS, and make sure to go check out our website. There's plenty, just like Game Pass, there's plenty of podcasts for all different likes and interests on our
for sure.
On our website. So definitely go check that out. So, all right, we'll throw up the X because we're about to exit.
Keeping it real.
Yeah. Bye, everyone.
Take care.
What's the matter, you hurt? Hey, bro.